So today I'm going to talk about how to start a business. I'm going to show you how I have started currently owning three different businesses. I own a national babysitting agency. I own a call center, and I also own, I do taxes as well, and I also have a nonprofit. So I'm going to show you some tips on how you too can start your business and where to start. So the first thing with starting a business is basically knowing what type of business that you want to start. So I run into a lot of people, and I would say a lot of women, and they want to start a business, but they don't know where to start. They don't know what type of business. So basically what happens is they say, I want to open up this kind of business. I want to start a nonprofit. I want to do this. I want to do that. They just pretty much just all over the place. So they really don't know what they want to start. So I tell them to focus in on one business. So focus in on one business, and then once you get that one off the ground, then you go to the next one. So I run into a lot of people like that, and they don't know what type of they will know what type of business, but they don't want to focus on one. So about, I would say maybe 10 years ago, I was the same way. I was all over the place. I was dipping and dabbing in everything. I was doing real estate. I was doing multi-level marketing. I was doing all kind of stuff. I was doing any type of business that you want to start. I probably already started it or tried it. So 15 years later, I'm in the marketplace helping other people or other women start their own business, because anything that you want to know about starting a business, I can probably help you. No matter where you live, if you live in North Carolina, South Carolina, anywhere, I can help you. So, but just pretty much know what type of business that you want to start and focus on one. Once you get that off the ground, then you will focus on the next. So that's one tip, knowing. Secondly, second tip on how to start a business. Once you know that business that you want to start, the second tip is to come up with a business name. So, and you may think this is simple, right? You may say, okay, this is a simple process to come up with a name, but believe it or not, it's hard for me to come up with a name. Most of the names of my businesses, my husband has helped me come up with. He's pretty much named all of my businesses, because I'm really bad with trying to come up with a name for my business. So Life is Great Call Center, he came up with that name. Babysitters of Charlotte, he came up with that name. Women in Power, he came up with that name. So I'm not lying to you all. I guess, I don't know why it's hard for me to come up with a name, but it was hard for me to come up with a name for all of my businesses. Even when I had, I've told you I've done all kind of businesses. One of them was an actual club, nightclub. Yikes. I didn't even come up with the name for that business. My aunt actually named that business. So I'm telling you, you have to have a catchy name. And another tip when coming up with a name, make sure when you come up with a name, make sure that it's a national name. So coming up with a name like local, like me, I came up with my husband came up with Babysitters of Charlotte. That keeps me local, right? Babysitters of Charlotte. So basically they kept me local. So when I started to expand this year, I had to change the name, because I wanted to be a national agency. I can't go to Las Vegas and say, hey, this is Babysitters of Charlotte. I can't go to New York and say, hey, this is Babysitters of Charlotte. I can't go to Atlanta and say, hey, this is Babysitters of Charlotte. No, I had to actually come up with a national name. So now, as I'm rebranding, our new name is Babysitters Incorporated. So if you have a business, do not name it locally. So don't come up with, such and such of Georgia or such and such of Atlanta or whatever. Make sure it's a national name. Make sure it's a national name. So that's the second tip. So you have the first tip, making sure that focus on one business. The second tip is basically to come up with a name for your business. Come up with a name, and in this order, you need to do it in this order. Come up with a name for your business. So the third tip to starting a business is, bottom line is to you need to get a tax ID number. So, or not a tax ID number, you need to come up with what type of entity, what type of business entity do you want to be. So there are different entities out here. So the entity that I would suggest is, we have the sole proprietorship, we have LLC, we also have S corporation, then we have C corporation, then you have partnership, and then also you have, you know, the corporation for the nonprofit. So you have all of these different types of entities. So you need to figure out what type of entity will be better for your business. So a sole proprietorship is the easiest form to open up. You don't have to put in any money, but it's not the smartest one to open up. Because basically, as a sole proprietorship, you are being held liable for everything. So when you go to apply for your tax ID number, your name will be the business. So if you're getting sued or anything like that, or somebody trying to do a lawsuit against you, they're coming after you and your assets, not the business. So like I said, these are the risks to doing a sole proprietorship. If you have a daycare, if you have any type of high liability, you know, you definitely do not want to be a sole proprietorship. You definitely don't want to be a sole proprietorship. A lot of people say, hey, LLC. Okay, LLC, you want to be an LLC. It's pros and cons to that, depending on where you're going with your business. So as an LLC is good depending on how you're looking at it. So an LLC business, you do have to pay that monthly every year. You have to pay an actual fee to your state for the LLC. So every year you're paying that fee. Every year you have to think about that. And then if you want to go for a business credit, your name is still connected to that LLC. So your name is still connected to the LLC. So if you're trying to go for business credit, you cannot do that because your name is connected to the LLC. So anytime, and this is just information I'm throwing out there because there is a such thing as business credits, you all. And I do another video on that, so make sure you subscribe so you can get that information for business credit and how you can get business credit. So an LLC, your name is still, but you also with the LLC, you can do a partnership. So LLC is okay if, you know, you have funding to start up. I'm really pretty much speaking to people who really probably don't have a lot of funding to start their business, and they just want to open up their business. An S corporation is a really great entity to open. All of my businesses are S corporations. It has a really great tax. It's taxes for tax purposes is really good. So an S corporation, and you don't pay that yearly fee to the state. So for example, if you're not paying the yearly fee, then that's saving you money. If you're the first year in business, you may not profit. You may not make a lot of money. So with that being said, you wouldn't have to file. You wouldn't have to file if you didn't make any money. Most people don't make any money their first year. They may be in the negative their first year. So just make sure you think about that when you go to choose a business entity. Then you also have the C corporation. The C corporation is, let's just say, it's really difficult to set up. Even with the S corporation, you do have to have a board. So you have to have a president, you have to have a vice president. So you have to have all of that. You have to have all of that with the C corporation. So you have the sole proprietorship, you have the LLC, you have the S corporation, then you have the C corporation. And then now they have on there where they have a trust. So basically, I don't know if you all know what a trust is. Basically, a trust is you can set up for your children. But then you also have the last one, which is the nonprofit. So as a nonprofit organization, you are considered a corporation. You are considered a corporation, believe it or not. So these are a few tips on when you're starting a business, what to expect, and some tips on what to do. So the first tip, we're just going to summarize everything that we just talked about, or what I just talked about, is basically knowing, you have to know what type of business that you want to start. Just know, you have to know and focus on that one business. The second tip when you're starting your business is to have a name. I know it's simple, but it wasn't for me, and it's not simple for a lot of people. And you want to have a catchy name, a really good name. And thirdly, choosing your business entity. So choose wisely when you are choosing a business entity. I want to thank you all for watching this video. Love you all. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Love you all.